Welcome to the news on Zodiac with me, Sibongile Ziambo. First, the headlines. Ministry of Health extends with 4 weeks rollout for administration of AstraZeneca vaccine second dose. State House attributes attacks on journalists by public officers to individuals' obsessive tendency in public office. The Tonse administration moves in to bring sanity in the mining sector through introduction of Mining Regulatory Authority. And in news from elsewhere, EU unveils plans for overseas tourists to return. Now the news in detail. State House has blamed attacks on journalists by public officers on overzealous individuals with the tendency of abusing their positions. State House Director of Communications, Sean Kampondeni, says within the first 100 days of Tonse administration, access to information law had been operationalized to underscore the value for media freedom. He was responding to concerns that since January this year, 20 journalists have been harassed and perpetrators have gone scot-free. Meanwhile, as Masozi Kasambara reports, governance and political expert Victor Chipofya says Malawi has made tremendous improvements in media freedoms since the reintroduction of pluralism politics.
As the media in Malawi has joined the world in celebrating the World Press Freedom Day, various stakeholders agree that there are gains worth pointing at in as far as media freedom is concerned in the country. There is, however, concern on the environment of impunity for perpetrators of harassment of journalists. Misa Malawi chapter chairperson Teresa Ndanga says more worrying is the fact that public officers who are supposed to lead by example in upholding media freedoms have joined the bandwagon of the perpetrators. She says since January this year, a total of 20 journalists have been harassed and perpetrators are yet to be brought to book. Responding to the concerns, State House Director of Communication, Sean Kampondeni, who was part of the panelists during the panel discussion prepared by Misa Malawi, expressed empathy at the situation. Kampondeni says all public officers involved in harassing the media are doing that in their individual capacity and not on behalf of any institution, as there is no policy that empowers them to do that. He observed that media harassment is a deep-rooted culture, which he says needs to be completely uprooted. Kampondeni confessed that there are some public officers who are poorly oriented on press freedom and access to information law, a shortfall he says needs to be worked on. Meanwhile, good governance and political expert Victor Chipofya says Malawi is making tremendous improvements in media freedom compared to the one-party era. This year's World Press Freedom Day is being celebrated under the theme Information as a Public Good. For Zodiac, Masozi Kasambara reporting from Blantyre.
Meanwhile, Information Minister Gospel Kazako has committed to ensure that the media is free to operate in Malawi. Kazako says the Chakwera administration will make certain that the environment is friendly for the media to continue being the eyes and ears of the society.
This government believes in freedom of the media. In fact, when we got into government, you remember very well that the president made sure that his government implements the access to information. Access to information is a very important law. Access to information is a very, very important tool that certainly will assist transparency and accountability. You know, this government is not afraid of the media. This government believes in the media. This government shall always be the chief campaigner and chief defender for the media because it knows very well the importance of the media in the strata. It is also very important for the media to be responsible, and of course government will also play its part. We know that on its part there are certain laws that certainly need and require some review so that the media freedom is not compromised in any way. That will happen and that will be done. Let me take this opportunity also to request the media to be responsible. There is no need for the media to be composing stories. There is no need for media to be publishing lies. There is no need for media to publish stories or to cover stories that will end up confusing the public or stories that will not create a common good. We need to be responsible. Government needs to be responsible. And you know that we have always been responsible.
Ministry of Health has extended with 4 weeks rolling out of administration for AstraZeneca vaccine second dose in the country. Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Charles Mwansambo, told Zodiak the second doses will now be administered from 3rd June, an upward push from the initial arrangement of end of this month. Meanwhile, health rights activist George Jobe has cautioned government to tread carefully and ensure that vaccine for the second dose arrives on time to avoid causing panic. Chiwemparata filed this report.
The extension follows a recommendation by scientists. The second doses can be administered after 12 weeks. A health commentator, George Jobe, has advised government to administer the vaccine within the required time frame, citing concerns failure to do so would risk lives of those who took the first jabs.
The change must be substantiated with facts and justification. Social accountability, what we always require is that proactive provision of information.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Charles Mwansambo, told us administration of the second doses will roll out on 3rd June, an extension from the initial announcement to administer the second doses end this month. Dr. Mwansambo says the country will by the end of this month receive 900,000 doses of AstraZeneca through the COVAX facility.
Science has shown that the performance of the vaccine is better when it's given after 12 weeks. So we've also changed our policy here to give the next dose, the second dose, after 12 weeks. For Malawi, we'll be starting on the 3rd of June.
Malawi plans to administer the AstraZeneca vaccine to 11 million people by end this year, but close to 16,000 doses of the vaccine now await approval of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets to be destroyed after the 16,000 doses passed their lifespan. For Zodiak, this is Chimwemwe Padanta.
Staying on COVID-19, an organization advocating rights for the elderly has challenged partners and government to enhance awareness on the importance of COVID-19 vaccination among the elderly. Executive Director for Malawi Network of Older Persons Organizations, Andrew Kavala, says the elderly in rural areas lack information on COVID-19 vaccine, hence the call. Meanwhile, spokesperson for Palombe District Health Office, Dana Chiromo, says his office has written churches and local leaders to assist in awareness on the vaccinations. The Mzimba Agriculture Office, together with Mzuzu ADD Communications Department and the Pesticides Control Board, have embarked on an awareness campaign to sensitize farmers, sellers and consumers on the use of tomatoes applied with chemicals alleged to be harmful. Mzimba South Agriculture Office Crops Officer Beat Nyondo said they have also asked the extension workers to sensitize farmers on the use of the chemicals which vendors are using to prolong the shelf life of tomatoes. Vanani Nyurenda reports.
According to Beid Nyondo, a senior crops officer at Mzimba District Agriculture Office, they are aware that some vendors selling tomatoes are applying chemicals on the tomatoes to prolong their shelf value while selling. Nyondo said as an office, together with the Mzuzu ADD Communications Office and the Pesticide Control Board, they have now embarked on an awareness campaign to sensitize the growers, sellers and consumers on the health hazards associated with the act. He said all chemicals applied to crops require to be handled with care because some are extremely hazardous and can lead to poisoning of the body, thereby leading to death, especially in situations where users are not aware of how dangerous the chemicals are. The Agriculture Office has also asked their extension workers to go flat out on the ground in sensitizing the farmers on the use of the chemicals. The office has been receiving complaints on tomatoes being sold by vendors in most trading centers as having a whitish residue on the surface, which have been raising fears of contamination with harmful substances. ZBS understands that the chemicals being used in prolonging the shelf value of the tomatoes is identified as dithen, a pesticide used to control diseases in field crops. Some consumers have also called on Malawi Bureau of Standards to investigate the issue over worries of harmful effects on the citizenry. For Zodiac, I am Vanani Renda.
Reunion Insurance has sent an appeal to members of the society, government and the private sector to join hands and assist children with disabilities so they realize their potential. The call has been made by the Chief Executive Officer for Reunion Insurance, Dr. Dorothy Chakwera, when a company donated a 5,000-litre water tank and food supplies to MalawiNews School for the Blind in Ilongwe Monday afternoon.
It's true that we are indeed celebrating our 16th anniversary today, 3rd May 2021. It's a tradition within our organization that when celebrating a day like this one, we connect ourselves to the community. So we look for areas where there is need. We check for the needs of the institution or the area that we identify. And then we come up with a corporate social responsibility where we donate various items according to the needs of the community that we have identified. We need to encourage them because we say disability is not inability. They can do anything. All they need is support and assistance from well-wishers, because with the support, we also heard it from the school authorities that last year they managed to send some kids to some of the schools. So that is also very encouraging. And with everybody's support, they can achieve whatever they can achieve.
The school is run by the Nkhoma Synod of the CCP Church.
This school is very appreciating for having the donation that Reunion Insurance has given or donated to MalawiNews School for the Blind. It will help us a milestone because the funding that we receive from the government cannot suffice for us to keep the students here for a term. You may know that the funding that comes from the government is very little, and to assist the students each and every day for a term, it needs a lot of funding. So we appreciate the donation that has been given us.
You're watching News on Zodiac. We'll be right back shortly.
Special scholarships available at UNICAF University for bachelor, master's and doctoral degree programs. UNICAF University is accredited nationally by the NCHE and internationally by the British Accreditation Council in the UK. Enroll for internationally recognized degrees at a fraction of the cost, with the special scholarships available for the April-June 2021 intake. Feel safe knowing that your online studies with UNICAF University will not be disrupted by measures for the pandemic. From enrollment to graduation, everything runs smoothly online. Don't miss this golden opportunity. This offer is only valid until the end of June 2021. So apply today and get a free tablet when you register and pay the required deposit. Ring 01755 333 or WhatsApp 0993 907002 for more information.
Ufika 2063 akale wokomera aliyensi achinyamata tikwirane manja tukula Malawi achinyamata tikale patsogolo tukula Malawi Malawi wozimira paeka Malawi wokomera aliyensi Malawi 2063 kusinda dziko lathu mokomera aliyense.
Tikolole kungonjezera mayunitsi a TNM kuyambira 200 kwacha kapena kuposera pamenepo mutha kukhala mmodzi mwa mamilioneya mu TNM Tikolole promotion. Koma mukaonjezera mayunitsi ndi 100 kwacha kapena kuposerapo mudzilandira mabonus oyimbira foni, SMS kapena data pompo.
TNM, always with you.
Malawi Adventist University, MAU, Lakeview College, invites applications for the forthcoming semester that opens on the 9th of May 2021 in the following academic programs. Bridging course. MSCE or equivalent certificate holders who wish to join the university but have 4 or 5 credits, including English, may apply to attend the bridging course. Interested students should submit their bridging course application forms now. Bachelor of Arts. Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Theology. Admission requirements: MSCE or its equivalent with 6 credits including English. Bachelor of Education. Bachelor of Education in English Language and Literature. Bachelor of Education in English Language and Religious Studies. Admission requirements: MSCE or its equivalent with 6 credits including English. Bachelor of Administration. Bachelor of Administration in Accounting. Bachelor of Administration in Management. Bachelor of Administration in Marketing. Admission requirements: MSCE or its equivalent with 6 credits including English and Mathematics. Bachelor of Business Administration upgrading program in Accounting, Marketing, and Business Management for 2 years. Admission requirements: a diploma from a recognized institution of higher learning and examining body, MSCE or its equivalent with 4 credits including English and Mathematics, and a minimum of 2 years work experience in a related field after obtaining the relevant diploma qualification. Bachelor of Science. Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness. Admission requirements: MSCE or its equivalent with 6 credits including English, Mathematics, and any 3 science subjects, which should be 3 of these: agriculture, biology, physical science, physics, or chemistry. Download application forms at www.mau.ac.mw or collect them from all SDA Malawi conference offices in the South, Central, and Northern regions. Email registrar.lkv@mau.adventist.org. Cell +265 999 976 761 or +265 888 767 611. Closing date for receiving applications is
April 30,
2021. Malawi Adventist University. Knowledge, truth, service.
What do you do when your rights as a consumer are violated?
Call CFTC.
Who do you tell when there are anti-competitive business practices?
You tell CFTC.
What do you do when you notice deceptive business conduct or excessive pricing?
Oh, that's easy. Call CFTC.
The Competition and Fair Trading Commission, CFTC, minimizes malpractices that disadvantage both the consumer and traders. Call
Welcome back. The headlines as we continue the news. Ministry of Health extends with 4 weeks to roll out for administration of AstraZeneca vaccine second dose. State House attributes attacks on journalists by public officers to individuals' obsessive tendency in public office. Tonsa administration moves in to bring sanity in the mining sector through introduction of Mining Regulatory Authority. And in news from elsewhere, EU unveils plans to overseas tourists to return. President Lazarus Chakwera last night promised Malawians that the Tonsa-led administration is taking a step forward to establish Mining Regulatory Authority among several reforms aimed at formalizing the sector, which has great economic potential for the nation. The president was speaking in his address to the nation, which solely focused on the mining sector. However, Natural Resources Committee of Parliament chairperson Wiran Chirenga says failure to operationalize Minerals and Mines Act of 2017 is a source of all chaos in the sector. More in this report.
Through the televised national address last night, President Lazarus Chakwera said the mining sector, which has the ability to turn around the country's economy, has not been formalized, thereby failing to rake in the desired revenues. Chakwera says since the Tonse Alliance administration took over, they have worked on some reforms that are aimed at bringing sanity to the sector. The Malawi leader says he is determined to use mining as a catalyst for revitalizing the economy.
In the June sitting of Parliament, my administration will present a bill to establish a mining regulator authority. The authority's mandate will be to regulate the development, management, and utilization of our country's mineral resources in line with sustainable development principles and practices.
But Natural Resources Committee of Parliament Chairperson Weran Chilenga says the problem lies with failure to make use of the Mines and Minerals Act of 2017.
As a country, we have a very strong Mines and Minerals Act. Implementation is not taking place. That's the challenge which we have. If the Mines and Minerals Act was implemented, illegal mining would not have been there. We have illegal mining all over. We don't have to regularize illegal mining. It should be contained according to the law. So the challenge that we have is that government is failing to implement the existing laws which Parliament passed. That's the biggest problem.
It is estimated that mining contributes less than 3% to the country's GDP annually.
Teachers in public secondary schools are pushing for clarification from the aligned ministry why their April salaries were less by 50,000 kwacha. President of Secondary School Teachers Union Bidani Kapolo told us the decision was made without their knowledge, and Ministry of Education officials have confirmed the development, saying it has not only affected secondary school teachers but the entire ministry. John Pokayuni filed this report.
Through the televised national address last night, President Lazarus Chakwera said the mining sector, which has the ability to turn around the country's economy, has not been formalized, thereby failing to rake in the desired revenues. Chakwera says since the Tonse Alliance administration took over, they have worked on some reforms that are aimed at bringing sanity to the sector. The Malawi leader says he is determined to use mining as a catalyst for revitalizing the economy.
In the June sitting of Parliament,
about 50,000 Malawi kwacha has been deducted from public secondary school teachers' April salaries. This, according to some teachers we have spoken with, has been done without any notice from their employer, the Ministry of Education. The Secondary School Teachers Union has now moved in, demanding an explanation from the Ministry of Education on the development. President of the union, Pililani Kapolo, told us it is unfortunate that the deduction was effected without prior notice.
Unfortunately, the employer did not communicate to us what has prompted to the change. We just need to have an explanation from Minister of Education on what has prompted them to do that.
While confirming the development, inside sources from the Ministry of Education say this has affected not only teachers but also other employees in the ministry. But when contacted, Ministry of Education spokesperson Chikondi Chimala referred us to the Department of Human Resource Management, where its spokesperson Ken Mtonga asked for more time before commenting on the matter. Zodiak has, however, established that the deduction has come because there was an anomaly where teachers' taxes were being under-deducted since the 100 tax-free band was introduced. For Zodiac, this is John Paul Kayuni.
In sports news, the Super League of Malawi Sulam has dismissed claims that patronage during last Saturday's chaotic match between Mighty Wanderers and Nyasa Big Bullets surpassed the 250 restriction, hence security was overwhelmed. Sulam General Secretary William Zibanda says there was no breach to any COVID-19 preventive restrictions, and the FRACA will not propel government to reconsider its waiver when allowing patronage to be half capacity starting this weekend.
Few minutes after the mayhem had broken out, some fans who had gathered outside the stadium forced their way inside, and security was overwhelmed as few police officers joined the stewards in containing the volatile situation. However, their efforts proved futile as many people had trekked in until tear gas canisters were thrown in the terraces to disperse the fans. The match, despite being the most decorated and sought fixture on the domestic scene, fell within the COVID-19 preventive restrictions with a patronage of not more than 250 people. but the ugly scenes that culminated thereafter raised questions if at all the number did not exceed 250 people. Williams Banda, Solom General Secretary, insists there cannot be backtracking on the waiver because Saturday's match was organized in accordance to the law despite the fracas.
We want our games to be patronized. We have cried to government to give us space, and government is softening. What we need to do is to assure government that what happened on Saturday is regrettable. A disciplinary committee will meet and will make a determination.
Local football expert George Kaudzamasina says authorities should find other alternatives of complementing security during local games.
When you look at crowd control, there will always be a team leader who always gives instructions on what to do at what particular point. Crowd control is quite different with the way you control people elsewhere. Supporters, the way they behave, they have to be treated the way they behave.
Mighty Wanderers, who were the home team during Saturday's epic showdown, have distanced themselves from the chaos that disrupted the match.
In news from across the borders, the EU Commission has recommended easing restrictions on non-essential travel from overseas. Under the plans, anyone who has received the last dose of an EU-approved vaccine at least 2 weeks beforehand will be permitted to travel. The EU currently only allows non-essential travel from 7 countries, but the proposals will also contain an emergency break, allowing member states to limit travel quickly in response to new variants or a deteriorating health situation in non-EU countries. This will be reviewed every 2 weeks. Discussions on the plans will begin on Tuesday. That's how I conclude this edition of news, and before we go, a look at the headlines. Ministry of Health extends with 4 weeks rollout for administration of AstraZeneca vaccine second dose. State House attributes attacks on journalists by public officers to individuals' obsessive tendency in public office. TOS administration moves in to bring sanity in the mining sector through introduction of mining regulatory authority. And in news from elsewhere, EU unveils plans for overseas tourists to return. Thank you for watching. I am Sibongile Ziambo. Goodbye.
The ultimate goal of every businessman is to make profits stress-free. Motivate your staff today. They'll put in more effort. Put them on Pamodzi SME Group Life Insurance. Then relax and enjoy life.
Call Smile Life Insurance in Blantyre, Chayamba Building, 01